The law of gravitation of life. Xiefeng, I say to you, you will not come out of it until you have made payment to the very last farthing. The motions and developmental trends of all objects are affected by gravitational forces. It is impossible for anything to escape without conquering the gravity that binds and constrains it. This law is suitable to the material world as well as to the non-material world. The law of the universal gravitation of life can be expressed thusly. Gravity exists between or among any destined lives in the universe. Their magnitude of gravity is directly proportional to the amount that they owe to each other and inversely proportional to how much favor they have done to each other. That is to say, the greater the debt is, the stronger the gravitational interactions will be, but the greater the favors, the stronger the reaction forces will be. The main reason that the souls of many self-refining people cannot reach even the lowest level of heaven after leaving their physical bodies is the effect of gravitation of the earth towards their lives. This is the procedure of Tao, which cannot be overcome only by consciousness. Many near-death people have already left their physical bodies, but they come back to life eventually, which result from the effect of the attraction to life. Many people arrive at beautiful places in their dreams only to awaken near the end as a result of this attraction. No matter how far they travel, immigrants always have been longings for their homes from time to time. A Punjabi phrase says, East, West, home is best, and part of an American poem and song goes, be it ever so humble, there is no place like home. The great emperor, Li Shimin of the Tang dynasty, earnestly enjoined monk Xuanzang, who was leaving for India, love and cherish even a pinch of mud from your homeland more than a ton of gold from other places. Why are our homes so attractive? Because we owe debts to them. It was the mountains and rivers in our native land that cultivated us, and it is our families that favor us. This is the effect of the gravitation of life which very few can resist. Transmigrations and reincarnations of life will gravitate toward the world from which you were over debt in your previous life. If you owe a debt to someone, you will return to serve them in your next life as a person, or even as an ox, horse, dog, or sheep to do the same. If you owe a debt to an animal, you will return as one, or even as food for it. Buddhists attach importance to predestination, but what is it? It is the combination of debts and favors. In China, there are sayings such as, though born 1,000 miles apart, souls which are one shall meet, and a fated match across 1,000 miles is drawn by a thread. Here, the meaning of the word thread is the gravity of predestination, which is also a combination of debt and favor and is inescapable by anyone. The Chinese saying says, husbands and wives are foes. In the mortal world, marriage is just like living in a protracted lawsuit against each other. You will by no means leave this world until you pay off all your debts. This is why Jesus Christ taught us that whoever smites us on our right cheek, turn to him the left also. Buddha Sakyamuni said in the Diamond Sutra that, furthermore, subhuti, if a virtuous man or woman who receives, holds in mind, reads and recites this sutra and become despised by others, that because one is bound to suffer from evil destinies in retribution for their past sins, their karmic sins can be eradicated by enduring others' contempt of present life, so they will attain peerless perfect enlightenment. Actually, you are blessed if someone reviles or persecutes you, and this is one of the most effective ways to pay your debts. Therefore, the starting point for your advanced self-refinement should be that you are brave enough to accept revilement and persecution without any resentment or desire for revenge in your mind. You have to be willing to accept all the suffering. You should be absolutely obedient to your parents, patient with your brothers and sisters, and yield to your spouse. You should also devote your hearts and souls to the education of your children without expecting anything in return. Jesus told us that a man's foes are those of his own household. We owe to our families, and this debt will attract us back to the mortal world. Thus, our families are the biggest factors preventing us from entering heaven. Goodness and loving kindness follow us all the days of our lives, so we have to go back to the mortal world to repay them in their afterlife. Therefore, any advantage or benefit that we derive from the mortal world is just glue which will restrict us from entering heaven. In Matthew 10 verses 35 to 40, Jesus Christ taught us, "For I have come to set sons at variance against their fathers, daughters against their mothers, and daughters-in-law against their mothers-in-law, and their foes shall be of their own households. Those who love their fathers and mothers more than me are not worthy of me. Those who love their sons and daughters more than me are not worthy of me. And those who take not their cross and follow after me are not worthy of me. Those who find their lives shall lose them, and those who lose their lives for my sake shall find them. Verily I say unto you, there is no man that hath left house, or parents, or brethren, or wife, or children, for the kingdom of God's sake, who shall not receive manifold more in this present time, and in the world to come life everlasting. Jesus' words tell the exact truth. We should abandon all that we possess in the mortal world. But how? The only way is to experience the worst hardship and the most miserable suffering, and to bear the most painful torment. In order to repay those kindnesses, everything that we do should be as that of cows. They eat grass but produce milk. We should burn ourselves as candles. As long as we live, we will exhaust ourselves fully to pay back the debts that we owe from previous lives. A reading from the Baha'i faith begins as follows. Behold the candle, how it gives its light. It weeps its life away, drop by drop to give its flame. You must die to the world, and so be born again, and enter in to the kingdom of heaven. Jesus told us that where one's wealth is, so too is their heart. So reserve wealth for yourself in heaven. Buddha also preached that we should do our best to give alms formlessly and accumulate merits constantly. In this way, the fruit of its reward will be inconceivable. We will understand the law of universal gravitation of life as soon as we enter into the non-material world. Some have dreamed of flying in very beautiful places, which show very little magnitude of gravitational attraction from the mortal world, while others have never flown in their dreams. Some have never dreamed in color, which indicates a big magnitude of gravitational force from the mortal world. Although Isaac Newton's 3 laws of motion describe the material world, but they also apply to the non-material world and offer inspiration to us. We can understand this principle from the case of the 3 cosmic velocities. A satellite must meet an initial velocity requirement of 7.9 kilometers per second in order to orbit around the Earth. Escape velocity is 11.2 kilometers per second for it to escape from the Earth's gravity and rotate around the Sun. A third and higher velocity will allow the spacecraft to escape from the Sun's gravity and travel out into the galaxies. The 1,000-year world, 10,000-year world, and Elysium world that I have described are just like those 3 cosmic velocity levels. The first cosmic velocity is required to reach the 1,000-year world. The second is required for the 10,000 world, and the third is required for reaching the Elysium world. It is impossible to reach the above 3 worlds unless the requirements for the minimum speeds are achieved. Of course, this is a metaphor, but the concept applies. Pay your debts and free yourselves from the shackle of the gravity of lower life space. Pay that final farthing that you owed to the lower space lives. The best way to do this is to give alms formlessly and accumulate merits. Do you know why the best way to self-improve and self-cultivate is to help construct Life Genuine? It is because we are initiating the Life Genuine era for humankind, and this era will not only benefit humankind, animals, and plants, but also rivers, lakes, the sea, and the sky. We are accumulating the greatest merits which are sufficient to offset all that you have owed to all forms of life throughout all time, including what we owe to our families. Why should we revere life and nature? This is the basic principle. Understanding these principles, we will feel sweet even when enduring hardship and tiredness. The enjoyment should be given priority to others, and the hardship and tiredness should be left for ourselves. One should set up a superior goal, work hard on an ordinary job, and lead a humble life. In this way, we will burn ourselves as candles to the greatest extent. Forget complaining if you ever wanted to, give up revenge if you ever desired to, and release any hate that you still have. On the contrary, bless those whom you felt antagonism toward. The law of the universal gravitation of life tells us that the magnitude of gravity is directly proportional to what we owe but inversely proportional to what we have favored. The more that one owes, the greater their magnitude of gravitational interactions will be, and the more difficult it will be for them to reach heaven. However, the more that one has favored, the less that the gravitational force will pull on them, and the easier it will be for them to leave for heaven. When we face our imminent deaths, we will rest in peace if we are free from all concerns and debts. Otherwise, we will turn over in our graves with restless souls. Do not accept favors from others readily. Once you accept them, they will become your debts. Those favors relieve others, but shackle you. Do not kill animals intentionally, or those animals will be freed, but you will be shackled. Be as much a vegan, or at least a vegetarian as you can, because animals are lives too. What is owed to animals must be repaid eventually. What you gain must correspond with what you have paid, and any excess is unnecessary because it means debt for you. I am unable to describe all the details. Get to know the principles first and then put them into practice.